Okay, this is the Tournament of Power arc revamped from What If I Was in Dragon Ball. It's part 3. So we entered the tournament, and within 4 minutes, Goku, who has by now accessed Ultra Instinct Omen, he was able to easily take out Jiren and most of the other fighters. But there is a change to Universe 6, and that's going to be extremely apparent as it's the strongest fighter. His name is Isaac, and he's basically the alternate universe version of me. Because Universe 6 is 7th mirror universe. So basically, I am able to fend off his base form barely as a Super Saiyan Gold. Fighting, I have Super Saiyan Gold completely unlocked by now, but that's just his base. As soon as he goes Kaioken times 3, he punches me a single time, and I'm knocked back to base, but my power hasn't decreased in the slightest. It stayed the exact same power level as I was in Super Saiyan Gold. And then I just fire up back into Super Saiyan Gold, and my power is multiplied again by the normal boost. Because in Super Saiyan Gold, my power, which loses, even if I lose the form, if I'm forced out of the form, I keep the power of the form, and it just remultiplies it when I go back into it. It's a bit OP, but it's only if I'm forced out, which actually, if you look at the series, rarely actually happens to forms. Ultra Instinct never happened. He ran out of energy. Ultra Instinct against Kefla, he beat her, then ran out of energy. Super Saiyan against Frieza, that didn't happen. Most times, Goku has not actually lost a form to somebody beating it out of him, but it is possible. So that's why. I don't know exactly when that happened, but I'm pretty sure it's happened. And if it hasn't, well, then I guess these foes are very strong. So I'm using up a lot more power as I jump into Super Saiyan Gold Full Power, as I call it. Charging up my energy, and Vegeta and Goku currently have the Potara earrings, because I thought that there's no way that the Tournament of Power would be this easy, and I actually thought that there might have been someone, so I asked, and Whis was able to confirm it, and I smiled, as I knew Goku and Vegeta both had Potara earrings, but a couple seconds later, Isaac powered up into Super Saiyan, throwing most of the fighters out of the arena, leaving just Goku, Vegeta, me, and him. And that means almost every universe was eliminated within the first 10 minutes of the battle. And I powered up to match his power, in full power Super Saiyan Gold. And then I smirked and I shouted, "If that's all you've got, then you'll never then you'll never win." But Vegeta, who was able to power up into Super Saiyan Blue Evolution, was barely in, and Goku, who had powered up into Ultra Instinct just 1 second before he was about to get thrown off the arena, was able to stay in. But and Vegeta, throughout the sheer force, flashed into a purple-haired form, and took the full heat of an attack from Isaac, which had been designed to make every remaining fighter fly off the arena, but it hadn't worked on the last remaining fighters. Me, Goku, Vegeta, and Isaac. Well, me, Goku, and Vegeta. Our full power was finally accessed as Goku was pushing his limits and limit breaking himself thousands of times stronger and mastering Ultra Instinct. But we didn't have time to marvel at the power, at the fact that somebody other than me had been able to achieve this form. I charged up, powering everything I could, and then exploded my power. As I said, this is the full power that you wanted to see. And then my power exploded even higher, and as I flew in, and Goku and Vegeta, who Vegeta had at this point lost his purple-haired form, which is, by the way, Ultra Ego, and had charged in with a Super Saiyan Blue Evolution, hot on our tail, as Goku had been able to catch up with me because I was barely moving, and he was dodging a couple of hits, but more often than not, the hits from his opponent were getting him, and he was barely able to get any hits off, even though his body was moving automatically. He was barely getting any hits off that weren't being easily blocked, and he knew that he was completely outmatched. So he was about to put on his Patara earrings, but he saw that Vegeta was, but he got thrown back a bit, and as Isaac powered up into Super Saiyan 2, and me and Goku were both thrown back, barely standing, after a brief confrontation with this insanely powerful being, and, I shouted, dang it, it's not gonna work, as I had known what Goku was gonna try and do, and Isaac pulled away his attention from us, and made his full attention thrown onto Vegeta, who was easily the weakest, powering up even further into Super Saiyan 3, even faster than we thought was possible because of how long it takes to charge up into Super Saiyan 3. And we both Goku was barely remaining in his power. Even though he did have full control over Omen, it was still very draining, and it was even more draining to use the mastered version of Ultra Instinct. So I gave him a small bit of my energy, which restored him to full, giving him a huge Zenkai from how much damage he had sustained. And he said, thanks. I said, no problem, as I had barely spent any of my energy up until now, and I knew that I would need everybody I could to have all of their energy. So I shouted for everybody in the stands, aka everyone in our universe and the 6th, even though I knew none of the 6th would hear us. And I realized that I knew what Isaac was gonna wish for, and I said, "You'll wish to be the strongest in the multiverse, won't you?" As I had sensed darker energy from him, and he had he had an evil smirk on his face as he replied, "What does it matter?" And now everybody knew, and I said, "I was gonna wish for the universes to be restored." And he said, "Really? So you're following the original canon?" But nobody other than me and him knew what he was talking about. And everyone was like, "What?" And I said, "At least I'm not evil." And he said, "Ha! The Grand Priest has to follow his word." I took him aside and made him promise that if I won, that I would get the wish, and he agreed. He has to keep his promise. So yeah, it doesn't really matter. Because as it looks like powering up into Super Saiyan God before throwing huge attacks at Vegeta, who is barely alive, standing on the edge of the ring, it looks like it's over for you. Powering up even further into his god form, and he was sitting comfortably above the rest of us in power without even trying to be intimidating. I was shaking from just the pure energy. And then the Grand Priest did verify that yes, that was all true. And then the Zenos were looking panicked, and they said, "What? No!" And Zeno was like, "You did not promise him that, Grand Priest." And he was like, "Sorry." He threatened to attack some of the gods of destruction, and I realized that he could have easily killed them and maybe even beaten the angels. So I staggered back, realizing how he could have done that in his base form. And then Zeno was like, "Then don't keep your promise." And then he said, "Sorry, my lord, I can't. You know the rules." It's like, stupid angels and their stupid rules. Whis looked panicked now, realizing how strong this enemy was. And he said, "Ryan, you and Goku are our only hope." As Vegeta was getting beaten down, I threw a flurry of ki blasts towards Isaac, who was able to easily dodge most of them, but one of them he blocked, which gave me enough and as the smoke was clearing, I heard him coughing, and I knew that gave me enough time, so I charged up a full power ultra blast, firing it towards the smoke. But when the smoke cleared, he wasn't there. He had teleported, near instantly teleported, or it looked like teleportation to me, so quickly that there's nothing I could have done. And then he hit me 16 times. I felt every single one. A punch to the head, a punch to the stomach, a punch to each of my arms, to my legs, and then with 5 punches down, I felt him slowly punch me in the gut 11 times. And he said, "Make sure to feel each one of those." As with a final punch, he threw me to the edge of the arena, and I shouted defiantly, powering back up into full power Super Saiyan Gold. But he hadn't realized that I had actually dropped out of it for half a second because I powered up as quickly as I could. So my power was insanely high now. And I said, "Ugh." And then he slammed Goku out of the way, and I was able to instant transmission behind him and catch him before he fell out of the arena. And he said, "Thanks, Ryan." As I dropped to the ground, realizing I had been flying, but I brushed that thought aside, thinking I must have just jumped or something. As I kept powering up, to try and match his power, I realized that I had been able to exert enough pressure to actually erupt above the ground, and now I could actually fly on the previously stated no flying zone. And I kept that in the back of my head as I said, "Goku, put your earring on your right ear." And he said, "Why?" "Vegeta and me won't be much help even as fused." I said, just do it while you still have the chance. Even if you won't be that much helpful as fused, just do it. I have a plan. And then, and then I teleported, using instant transmission behind Vegeta, which supported him before he fell off the edge, giving him a bit of my power, which also was able to give him a Zenkai. And he was like, oh, you are insane, Ryan." Sorry. And I said, "No problem, Vegeta. Just survive, okay?" He said, "No doubt." As I powered up even more, in anger, I said, cut the, sorry, "Stop playing with me. Come on." And he said, "Fine, first I'll take out the trash." As he punched Vegeta in the gut, Vegeta had threw something in the air, which I grabbed, and he said, "What was that?" He said, "No, I thought it was a senzu." Pretending I didn't know what it was, as I smirked as I put the baton in my pocket, and I powered up, and then threw all my power towards him in a giant blast. And then I kept spamming Key Blast, shouting, "Come on! Come on!" And I realized that it was too late, that I had run out of energy, but I had kept spamming Key Blast. But my energy had completely restored itself. As he was out of the destruction, he tried to hit me, but I knew his exact style. I blocked, countered, and landed devastating punches. I felt like I knew every single thing. My power had exploded, and it was constantly growing, billions of times stronger every second. And every punch I did put him closer and closer to death as he powered up to blue, but even that couldn't save him. I increased my attacks to be even faster, knowing exactly what he would do, knowing what he would do before he even did it, changing my fighting style completely, doing everything the best possible. I wasn't wasting any breath. I wasn't wasting any attacks. And then I shouted, "This is Super Saiyan Gold Limit Breaker!" as I powered up even further, landing a devastating gut punch. He had tried to block his head, but I had hit behind him, and he kept trying to do everything he could, powering up, until he reached Ultra Instinct, and he said, "Finally! Jesus! That took too long!" He powered up. I realized that he had been covering his face so that he couldn't lose his senses, cause that if that happened, he could have lost Ultra Instinct. But I knew that even before he had turned, and I'd realized that, and I kept punching him as Super Saiyan Gold Limit Breaker, and even Ultra Instinct only was able to dodge a single. Even in Ultra Instinct, he was only able to dodge a single punch before I exploded my power even more and was able to start beating on him. And then I dropped out of Super Saiyan Gold Limit Breaker, and instantly my fighting style became sloppy compared to his. And he said, "Come on, where's that power that you just had?" I was confused. What power? I had lost all memory of my time in Limit Breaker Super Saiyan Gold, and I was almost nearly spent again. I had been at full energy the entire time, and my energy was still pretty close to full, but it was dragging itself down way faster than it should have. And I realized that was because I was still in Super Saiyan Gold. But what I didn't realize was the real reason was because all the energy I had was basically an illusion. but one that was actually real, but only for while I was in that form. Sorry. And I was knocked to the ground easily as his hair turned, the aura of a galactic looking power around him and his silver eyes all turned to a deep red and black color with a light purple dancing towards the end. And then he mastered the form, which was Ultra Instinct, but it also wasn't. It combined the powers of Ultra Instinct, Ultra Ego, and even more. His power would increase every second no matter what happened. Billions upon billions of times stronger every half second. And he said, I've reached a new state. This is, I guess I would call it corrupted Ultra Instinct. And I said, so I guess you've reached the mastered form of that. And he said, now to go even further beyond. Charging up a fist of ki in his hand, he slammed it into his other hand, letting it explode, damaging himself, but his power just went trillions of times stronger, and he said, I guess this would be one of the ultimate forms of the Saiyans. Right up there with Super Saiyan God. This is probably the most realistic one, though. As he powered up, I'd say closer to the Great Ape. It uses the fact that we get Zenkais. And I think, in fact, that this is the ultimate Zenkai. Charging up a huge blast and then smashing it into his face. His power skyrocketed to points where I couldn't even handle being there. But every time his aura got to me, I shouted, dropping out of Super Saiyan Gold and pushing it back a little bit before jumping into Super Saiyan Gold, and I was basically torturing myself, but I knew it would make me stronger as each time I jumped into full power Super Saiyan Gold, desperate not to die, but also desperate to be able to lose the form as soon as he hit me. Which was giving me Zenkais, but like for the form, so I was getting way stronger, and I was increasing a little bit faster than he was. But I realized that he wouldn't keep shoving out his aura forever, as he was powering up to be at his full power, and then he laughed and said, "Ha! Good luck, Ryan." I was like, how did you know my name? And before I could even finish speaking, I reacted to a gut punch he said, "Ha! That's just the first of many." And I felt hundreds of more punches to my stomach, my head, and all my vitals. And I collapsed on the ground, barely conscious. And I felt the Patara in my pocket, and I knew what I had to do, but I didn't have any time to do it. I used everything I had to create a giant ki, and then Android 18 from the stands secretly sent out a shield that was huge, but it gave me a half a second to extra, which was the only half second I needed. I'd already begun putting on the Batara by the time the shield broke, and I was able to send another ki as soon as I'd finished putting on the Batara, keeping him away from me as I was flung towards Goku. And then a blinding light appeared, and from the light, a voice sounded. It says, I guess my name is Ryoku. Sounds like a good name, I guess. It's not as cool as Gogeta or Vegito, but Ryoku will do. As the new warrior powered up, the light which had been surrounding him exploded away from him, almost as if it had been thrown back. And he powered up into Super Saiyan Gold again, laughing, and said, "Ha! This is the awesome feeling. I wish Ryan would merge more." And then he powered up and said, "Let's go, Isaac. Together we will beat you." And he said, "Ha." Do you think a fusion will beat the ultimate power? No. In fact, I don't think a fusion will do much. He cut off as soon as a punch resonated from his gut, with hundreds more following seconds after. He said, "Ow, you're strong, too strong. This is impossible." And then Ryoku said, "Is it though? Is it?" As he powered up, forming a giant ball of ki, and then said, "Hakai." It wasn't really a Hakai. It was a huge explosion of energy, though, similar to the attack Beerus uses to wipe things out. And he shouted in pain as as the attack stung him. But quickly he was overcoming the pain. I laughed and said, "Well, you are one formidable foe. Can you keep that up, though?" And he said, What do you mean? Can you keep that up?" As the energy had started, he had lost a bit of energy while in that form, and said, and I said, "It's only been 10 minutes. Can't even stay in that form for 10 minutes without exhaustion? Wow, yeesh." And we powered up as Ryoku used more and more energy to try and kill this Isaac, but it was just like it was just like like me throwing energy to Goku and Vegeta, and it was a huge Zenkai each time. But for him, it was millions upon millions of times bigger. And he laughed, saying, "Oh my god, that was refreshing. Thanks to the power up." As he charged up, he was able to hit us in the gut. And Ryoku said, "Jeez, that's annoying." As he used every last ounce of his power to blow Isaac away. He didn't realize that he used all of his power until he had once again accessed Limit Breaker Super Saiyan Gold. And then he said, "Oh, right! I remember this form from Ryan." Even though I had no memory of it when I wasn't in it, I remembered exactly what had happened last time I was in it while in the form. But that it didn't really matter as I was back in it, and this time as a fusion. And he said, "Oh, right! This power-up's insane! Ha-ha! Let's go!" Honestly, you're not going to stand a chance. As Ryoku powered up, he was easily blocking most of the attacks from Isaac and dishing out insane attacks himself. And Super Saiyan Gold Limit Breaker was constantly making him stronger, and he had already been able to fight pretty evenly with Isaac before, but using all of his energy just now to try and throw him away had actually pushed him into Limit Breaker. He said, "I think I know how you get this form. You have to be using everything you've got and more. The only 2 times Ryan's ever accessed it, and I guess Goku's accessed it once. Now, the only 2 times that's ever happened was when he was on the brink of death, and he was able to use all of his energy, and he was tapping into his own life force just to fire attacks. I wish I could use that, but and then he dropped out of the form, and he was only in Super Saiyan now, and he said, "Dang, Super Saiyan Gold. I think that's what it's that I got a form called that." And he had actually remembered the name and the power-up, but that was it. And he said, it's an awesome form. I wish I knew how to get it, though. And he powered up back into Super Saiyan Gold with his energy, which gave him a huge Zenkai. But unknowingly, he'd actually given both Goku and Ryan, me, the exact same power as him, even when they weren't fused in base. So a fusion level fighter is now, there are two of them, but he didn't realize that, and it didn't increase his power at all because it didn't happen yet. It didn't really matter until they unfused, which coincidentally only happened a couple minutes later. The fighting was intense, but the Limit Breaker Super Saiyan Gold, while it didn't actually tire him out or make him lose any stamina, it was a very draining form, even though he really didn't lose any energy while in it. But it should have been very draining. So he only had a couple extra minutes in the fusion, and he said, dang it! I guess I'm gonna defuse soon or something. Well, okay, well, it's gonna only be a couple more minutes, but only like 5 minutes left in the tournament of power. Awesome. Let's do this! As he charged in for one last hit, both me and Goku separated, but we were both able to hit him, and he was like, how? You didn't lose any power, even when you defused. I was like, well, I actually lost a bit of power, but it's like when he went back into Super Saiyan Gold, and the Batara exploded, as soon as they had come off, which Ryan and Goku, me and Goku had both taken it off. They exploded, and I said, okay, well, I guess I can't go in Super Saiyan. I guess I can't fuse much anymore. Plot: he's not allowed to fuse much because that would be too overpowered, and it would probably win every single time. Because keep in mind, Vegito is super strong anyway. And Goku and Ryan and me, there's no winning that if you're the opponent. Like, come on, keep in mind that in a recently ultra powered up form, Isaac was decimating Ryan and Goku without even trying. But as soon as they fused, they were able to almost instantly beat him up. And he was barely able to survive because of them throwing so many ki blasts. Because it's actually the ki blast mainly which increases power. But he didn't realize that. And neither did Goku and Ryan. It's just something that we know. So, yeah. Isaac is struggling against the two Ryoku level opponents. And Goku laughs and said, come on, Ryan. In our bases alone, we're as strong. And I said, yeah, we can almost be stronger than him when we're in our full power form, in our strongest forms. And I said, remember that thing? And then Goku said, yeah, Super Saiyan Gold Limit Breaker, I think it was called. Yeah, I nodded. That was an insane power-up. And Goku said, yeah, we got to figure out how to get you that all the time. Although it's not a power-up I can master, at least for a while. I might actually add some extra fake arcs. Not because they're going to be, not like they're going to be good, but like, come on. Come on! Of course I'm going to need extra arcs. So I powered up even more, into full power Super Saiyan Gold, and I said, and it's over now. Goodbye. As Goku powered up into Mastered Ultra Instinct, again, he charged a Kamehameha, and I charged an Ultra Blast, and I said, oh, it would have been so cool to use this attack as a fusion. And Goku nodded, and then we merged our attacks into an Ultra Kamehameha, while we shot them, and that made the Kamehameha 100 times faster, because the Ultra Blast is like kind of like a beam attack, or a laser attack, I guess, but it's still as strong and big as Goku's Kamehameha. And I said that would have been the perfect opportunity to finish him. And Goku said, "It doesn't matter. Let's just use our full power." As he powered up even further, the people from Universe 6 were petrified, and Champa fired a Hakai ball towards Goku, which was instantly eradicated by the Grand Priest, who said, that's called cheating. And Champa said, I'm sorry, Lord, I just didn't want to be erased. And he said, no matter, we'll leave you. And he powered up, and then Isaac powered up even more, and was pushing back our attack. I said, dang it, we don't have the power. And Goku replied, yeah, we used all of our energy. I said, no, come on, we just had to get this one attack, and I dropped into Master Ultra Instinct, powering down a little bit so I had a bit more energy to fire the attack, but instantly we started getting overwhelmed, so I powered back up into Super Saiyan Gold, just to keep the attack even rather than us completely losing. And then just when we were about to be completely eradicated, our beam suddenly started winning the beam struggle, and he's being pushed back, and he was like, no. And we looked at his hair, and we realized that he had dropped back into his base, which was still insanely impressive compared to most people, but compared to our power, which was insanely high, because his power didn't increase in his base form from when he was in the other form, compared to our insane power, even one of us could have probably killed him with a single beam, a simple ki blast, in our Super Saiyan forms. And I said, Goku! And he nodded, powering up even further, and firing, and we both teleported back as our beams exploded from Champa's energy blast, and he said, that was so that Zeno could have a bit longer of fun. And Grand Prix said, should we destroy Champa, or whatever? And then the Zenos were like, no! He made this more fun for us. And Grand Prix said, you are lucky, Champa. Just be warned. And Champa was instantly pale and said, yes, sire. And then me and Goku, who each had power higher than the Gods of Destruction and even the Angels, were charged up our attack, another attack. And we said, this is the Ultra. Goku said, this is the Kamehameha. Firing a Kamehameha beam. Or charging one up, rather. And I fired, and I said, I know both these attacks. Ultra Kamehameha. Charging up a full power Ultra Kamehameha. which I had been able to replicate from our combined attack. I said, this is going to be my strongest move ever. Ha! And Goku said, ha! And then our power exploded as we each fired our beams, and they merged again. And Isaac was terrified, and I said, "Oh shoot, we're gonna kill him!" And Goku nodded. And then Goku teleported in front of the blasts. While I knocked him off the edge with a single finger. So as to not hurt him too badly. And he said, "No!" And then me and Goku smiled as the blast, as Goku jumped out of the way, and stopped holding back the blast. And the blast almost went right under the stands, nearly destroying them. And then Goku powered down, all the way just down to Super Saiyan. And I realized that he also dropped onto the benches. And I realized that there was no ground underneath us. And our Kamehameha, and the Kamehameha that Goku had fired wasn't the one that did it. I realized that alone, pretty much, I had destroyed the entirety of the ground, and I was flying over the abyss. I said, "It's finally over." That was the best fight I've ever had. And the Grand Priest said that agreed, and said that probably was, before restoring the ground, which I instinctively collapsed onto. And I spoke my wish, and I said, clearly exhausted, "Come on. My wish was always going to be to restore all the universes that were destroyed by this tournament." And then the Grand Priest was like, "Excellent wish." And I said, "Please don't destroy me." And he said, "Now why would we do that?" And I realized the Grand Priest had already known about me, about everything, that I wasn't actually from this universe. And I smiled as he smiled mischievously. And I said, "Finally." And Beerus was like, you, and then we followed up, "You surpassed us." I said, "At least I saved our universe." And then they both said, "You should be a destroyer god." And I said, "Nah, that's not for me. Just train harder. I wish I could do anything to help, but nah, I'm not a destroyer." And then, and everyone was revived from erasure, other than Isaac, who was revived but instantly then killed by the Grand Priest. I said, "Whoa, your power is still insane. I guess I still have that to look forward to." And Goku smiled and said, "I'll be your rival, all the way till then." I said, "You're lucky you refused. That's the only way you were able to catch up." And Vegeta was like, "What are you talking about? There's no way he caught up." And then a shocked expression crossed his face as he sensed our powers. He was like, "I've been surpassed by Kakarot again." I said, "Vegeta, have fun with that. I'm gonna go." And then I passed out from exhaustion, thereby ending the Tournament of Power arc.